one of the core foundational principles that allowed me to start creating and establishing trust with myself, which creates the capacity to trust God with myself. Because what that means is, when I trust myself, I'm trusting a deep level of wisdom and a whisper. To not trust myself on a deep, in real time way is to trust yesterday, trust my past experiences. You see, the way that we are wired as humans is to live by default. What is that default? It's the default that emerges and arises as a result of conditioning. Conditioning by the world's message, by the message that we received as young, imprintable children. It's also the message that we received through our genetic code from our ancestors and generations that came before us. And whatever their memories are can be imprinted into this default mode by which we learn how to survive. Survival is equal to relying on yesterday's manna. Survival is what the Israelites wanted to look back and rely on. It was, we were slaves, but we knew we had a meal coming. We were slaves, but that is a comfortable, familiar, baseline. We can trust what's going to happen when we're slaves in Egypt. Out here in the wilderness, in the unknown, in the letting go, in the surrender, and the unbecoming, that was where true trust would birth, would emerge and rise. That was where they would become the version of themselves that would get to decide to design their life, to live a life by design. But it's a beautiful, perfect example of our current situation. Because when we're called into the wilderness, when we're called into the letting go, into the surrender, all we want to do, because it's not because we're shameful, it's not because we're defective, it's not because we're not good enough, it's just one of these things. In all of our getting, let's get understanding. It's called the human experience. It's the program. It's the way, it's our biology. And the transformation happens when we can become observers of our human desire and need for comfort and familiarity, and that's what's causing us to look back and want to go back to Egypt, into being slaves. Into being slaves of what? Into being slaves of our default programming. It's not when we chose, when we learned people-pleasing patterns, when we learned to be a bully as a child because that's the only way that our needs could be met. That was just an instinctual choice. It wasn't a conscious choice. It was an unconscious choice that we had to do it's who we had to become in order to survive life in those circumstances. But the mystery revealed is that when we are adults and we can become the observer of that person that we had to become to survive life, and we step into presence, We step into the here and the now. We step into stillness and drowning out the noise. When we stop feeding the intellect that just becomes processed, the same thing, the same delusions that feed into the delusions that this is just who we are. This is just our personality. But when we step into presence, when we learn how to meet our most basic, foundational, elemental needs as a human so that our body, our physical temple can just be, then we're posturing ourselves and aligning ourselves to be one, to be still and know that I am. And that's when we become the observer of the Israelite within us. We become the observer of who we had to become to get to this point right now. But if this version of you is outdated, and the way that you'll know this is through the manifestation of the breakdown of your physical body, because your body is a messenger and a communicator, and it's saying, hey, this isn't working for us. Who you had to become to get to this point, great, we're here, but it's not sustainable. The body doesn't just break down all at once. We chip away at it. We chip away at it by our ignorance and not understanding the basic, most foundational elemental needs of our body, like the right light rhythms and cycles, like drinking clean water, not from the tap, by not eating processed foods, like nourishing ourselves. And little by little over the years, and also whatever patterns that we have that create physiological stress in our body through the emotions, through the heartbreak, through the unexpressed feelings, through the stuffing them down, through the unprocessed rage, whatever it is, this slowly chips away at our physical health. And now we reach a climax, we reach a point where the symptoms are speaking and they're saying, I appreciate, I've held on as long as I can, but this is where we're at. Your lifestyle, your way of being human isn't working. And it's a divine, holy calling to posture yourself so that you can know thyself, so that you can then know God. He created you with Him in you. We can know of Him, but we do not know Him until we know ourselves. And when I work with clients, and when I worked with myself as a client, I had to learn the power. And you know, it's mind-blowing to me It's mind-blowing to me of how disconnected we've become with ourselves and with the love of God. Jesus did not walk around and perform his ministry depleted. He never stepped out of line with his connection with God. And even when people asked him and were seeking him, he even knew the wherewithal, the presence to say, I need to separate myself. I need to take time for myself. He needed to go and restore and reconnect and replenish because he was human too. He was modeling to us appropriate, healthy boundaries. We use that word because we become so disconnected with learning how to perceive and know what it is that we need to just be able to thrive as a human on earth. So we use the word boundary to understand. And so when I coached myself and I coach women that are so far entrenched in self-abandonment and self-neglect, and they can't even see it, but I see it through the cries of their symptoms and the cries of their body breaking down and holding on by the last thread. My body was crying out to me. It became so loud that I would just didn't know what else to do because the pain was so intense. It would take over me. And it felt like I had fallen in a black hole. And I had to claw my way out of that hole. And you know how I did it? One small promise at a time. I had to establish trust with myself, with my body. I had to give it the message that I know I've abandoned you. I haven't understood you. I've let you down. But I am here and I am committed, and I'm going to show up every day, and even if it's just the smallest way. I came to the revelation that I mattered, and I had to see myself. I had to love the one within me that felt so abandoned, and I had to love this one that holds the one that was abandoned. And I spoke to my heart, and I said, I will never leave you again. And I begged God, I said, please help me not forget. Help me walk out that I matter. Because when I walk this out that I matter, then I'm aligning myself with the belief that you have. Who you see me as, I am. You say that I matter. I matter so much that you gave me a unique fingerprint. God, I matter. I matter. Like you have the hairs counted on my head. You love me more than all the grains of the sand on this earth. I matter. I matter. You say I matter. I won't understand your love, and my body will not be able to receive it until I see it, until I walk it, until I live it. And that started with one small promise. Elise, when you wake up, you will drink a morning elixir with minerals and clean water, and you will nourish your temple with a breakfast. You will cook yourself a breakfast with protein, with fat, with nourishment. And that felt like climbing Mount Everest. To be able to wake up and show up for myself. And sometimes when I didn't want to do it, I would delay, but that's okay. I showed up. And the next day when I woke up, maybe I was able to overcome the thoughts of, I don't really want to do this. I'm in too much pain. This isn't working. How is this ever going to resolve my issues? How is this going to fix the mess that I found myself in? The outside mess that's all around me through my relationships, through my relationship with myself, maybe my finances, whatever it is. but I had to have faith and trust for daily bread. I had to not look back and not look forward, but to just be present with myself in that day. And each morning I showed up for a year and a half working on that one habit. And so now I coach my clients, and it's like total chaos with the daily life that they live. And everything in their life is trying to point them back home to say, your chaos will never resolve until you resolve the chaos within. And only you can resolve that chaos within. Nothing that you do outside of yourself is going to fix what you've been running away from that's inside of you. And I can see their true self version. I can see them living free and their body healing. And I just want to give them okay, when we do the holistic consultation, I create this blueprint. But we cannot activate the blueprint all at once. It may take years. But as long as you have breath in your lungs, it's not too late to start. And you'll be so thankful that you started. Because a year from now, hydrating yourself, waking up with the sun, eating breakfast, it'll just feel normal. And your body, you have no idea. When you've been a dry and barren desert for so long, what happens when you get that first drop of water, the first ounce of water? It's going to absorb it. It's going to reactivate a spark of hope, a spark of possibility. It's going to revive it. So we cannot mistake or undermine or discount the power of the one small promise that you make to yourself consistently over time, and it will gain compound interest. The cells in your body will start to recalibrate and say, okay, we're holding on. We see that you see us. We'll be long-suffering for you. And then the body starts to regenerate. It starts to be made new because it's what? It's receiving the codes of love through being seen, through being nurtured, through being held. So I invite you today to find some space to sit and to inquire and to wonder what it is that life is asking you for. What is it that your body needs? And how can you show up for you today? What can you commit to today and carry it out, even if it's just the smallest thing? Right now I'm working with a client, and what she can handle right now, the only way she can handle showing up for herself is to drink water. Half of her body weight in water a day. And we're just starting with that one small promise. And if it takes her 3 months or 6 months working with me, and that's what we accomplished. You see, because what we don't understand about this one small promise is we have to go back to school, is understanding the neurological system and the nervous system. With repetition, memory builds, and then it fires and wires a coding and a messaging within your neurological system that says, oh, this is who we are. We're someone that drinks water. And then the body's like, wow, this body is nurtured by someone who shows up for me every day in the form of drinking water. And then those neurological networks create strength for you to add on another promise once that one becomes solidified. And it starts rewriting a new program that I'm a body that's nourished. I'm a body that's taken care of. And it starts overwriting and rewriting the old memory of I'm a body that's depleted and abandoned and I'm just breaking down. That was the code that my body had. It was breaking down. It was depleting. It was in pain because that was the code that I had. I'm not someone that matters or important. Everything and everybody else outside of me is. Therefore, I am withering away. My body was a manifestation of my inner beliefs and my actions tied to those inner beliefs. And once I started creating a new path, walking down a new path, neurologically, that's what was happening. Our body is amazing. The design of our body, the way God created our body is truly fascinating and incredible. And it'll make you be in awe and wonder about how much more deep and complex and amazingly we were created and designed and made. But you see, that'll never come if we're so disconnected from ourselves. So take this message, hold it near and dear to your heart, and I would love to hear what arises and what God speaks to you when you sit with yourself and you drown out the noise and you just connect in and you become one with God and you become the observer of the you that you had to become to survive life up until this point. Sending all of my love. Be blessed.